Good morning, legends, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. What I have for you today is things I wish I knew before I started high school. But before we get started, don't forget to drop a like, subscribe, and turn on that post notification bell so you can be notified every Wednesday and Friday when I upload a new video. Now let's get started. This video might be a little longer than my other videos, so make sure to grab a snack. Sit down and take notes. I'm about to spill the tea. So, I'm gonna split this into like categories, but not in any like specific order. So I'll just tell you the category before I start. This is about friends. Everyone always is like, be yourself. And if you're in a big enough school, that's fine, because you will find your people and you'll be fine. But if you're in a smaller school like I was, it's really bad. It's really hard because if you are yourself and no one else likes that about you, you're not gonna make friends easily. And I'm just gonna be honest, like it is hard if you're in a smaller school. You will probably eventually find someone, but it will be harder. But at the same time, not being yourself can be really more damaging at the end of the day. Unless you have friends who already respect you and think you're funny and like who actually like you, don't be a class clown. If you don't have any friends and you think the way to get friends is to be the class clown, I promise everyone's gonna hate you. They're obnoxious and most of the time not even funny, just straight up disrespectful, but you're only gonna attract bad people. So I would not recommend trying to make friends by being the class clown, especially if you're starting in a new school that you don't even know anybody. Don't seek the validation of others. I do that. Don't do that because it's really bad and it's a really easy habit to get into, and then you're going to be unhappy every time someone doesn't validate what you think is cool or whatever. You're just gonna be doing things to please other people and you're never gonna do something to please yourself. Now, a way to really stunt yourself from making friends is by disrespecting the upperclassmen. Because upperclassmen literally hate you. They already hate you. If you're an lowerclassman, they hate you. There's really nothing you can do about it. Also, don't walk slow in the hallways. It's so annoying because my school, we have 4-minute passing times, and my school's not even that big, but I almost never get to class on time. And I'm just like sprint walking to my next class. The next section we're gonna discuss is sports and clubs. If you're gonna join a sport, or you want to, or you're even thinking about it, just do it. Like, honestly, don't even overthink it. What I remember, but I'm a dancer, right? I've been a dancer since the 4th grade, and I did studio classes from 4th grade till 7th grade, I think, and that was fine. And then when my school has a dance team, like the school runs one also, and you could try out for that in 6th grade and be in it in 7th grade, and I was like, oh no, I'm such a bad dancer, like they never let me on the team, they never let me do that, like everyone's gonna be mean, whatever. And so I didn't try out in 6th grade to be in the 7th grade one. And I regret that, like every day. Because literally I tried out in 7th grade, found out that anyone is allowed on JV. So no matter how bad I was gonna get on the team and be a part of it. So after I tried out, like, that was fine, and I didn't even realize that I could have tried out in 6th grade and still had even more experience. Because I remember in 6th grade, or when like 7th grade came around, it was the first year everyone in my grade could be in the team. Everybody pretty much except for me that was, on the studio team was on the dance team for my school. So what you should take from this long rant is that it's sooner the better. You get better opportunities and better experiences from being in it longer. Clubs, I can't really speak for this because I've never joined a club, because our clubs are kind of not that great. But if there is a club that you're interested in, join it, because that, even if you're struggling to make friends, that will be a really good way to make friends, because you're going to be having the same interests, and then you can bond over those interests and make friends with people. And plus you get to like hang out after school and whatever. Now I'm going to talk about classes and like things about like that, like just kind of the classes you should take or whatever. So what I would recommend is to take, like, I think all schools have like whatever required classes you have to take to graduate, and then they have separate classes that are electives that you take just if you are interested in them. And so what I would personally recommend is that you take all your required classes as soon as possible, and that way you either have more time for electives and or more time to not have to go to school when you're a junior and a senior. Because if you knock out all those classes and you get all your credits, at least your required ones, you'll have more time to get your other credits from just electives. And if you knock out like all your credits by not taking like a study hall or whatever, or like an open hour, then in senior year you'll have like all the time to just chill and only take like electives and like the few required courses you have to take in senior year. So you'll have like a few, like 3 or 4 or whatever core classes, and then you could spend the rest of your day at home or doing electives that actually interest you or doing internships and stuff. So that's what I would recommend. But you don't have to, because sometimes that can be kind of stressful, having to take a class that you have to have a good grade in all year for like years. That can get stressful. What else I would recommend, if you are interested in going to college, even like in the slightest, I would recommend at least taking an honors class, because most of the time, if you are good at that class in general, it's really not that much harder. The workload might be a little more than just your normal class, but like the actual understanding process isn't really that much harder if you're good at the subject. Even if you're not, it's just like, it's just better to take it in honors at least, because it's just that class but a little bit harder with like a little bit more work. So I mean, I'd recommend of course taking at least one, especially when you're good at, just because it will look better on college applications. And if you are really good at that class and take an honors class, it'll be even easier in the end to take an AP class. Which brings me to my next point, is AP classes. I took AP US History. AP History is like one of the hardest classes. It's like the hardest class I could take in 10th grade, and it was terrible. I won't even lie to you. I've never been good at history. I just can't remember things for that long. I'm not very good at reading. There's a lot of reading. Like, I'm good at reading, but like, I'm not good at reading and then retaining information. And it was really hard. It took up all my time. I literally dropped one of my dance classes to do it. And the worst part about AP classes is that if you don't pass the final college exam thingy at the end of the year for college credits, it's kind of not worth it, like, at all. Because like, it will say that you took the AP class, but if you don't pass the AP exam for the credits, then you kind of just did it for no reason, almost. Then you could just take a normal class or an honors class. But I mean, if you just want to challenge yourself, that's fine. And some people don't even take the AP exam at the end of the year. They just take the class to take it. And if you have a good grade in class, that'll look fine. But if you don't pass it at the end of the year, you almost do all that work for nothing. This is a different day and I'm editing this, but there's also a fee you have to pay to take the actual AP exam. And some kids like can't afford that, so that makes sense that you wouldn't actually take the test and just get the knowledge instead, and that would still look good on a college application. But if you do go to your counselors, they can probably find a way for you to pay for it or pay cheaper or even get it for free, because there's like programs where you can like get into that program and then get the AP test for really cheap, or the school pays for it, or you don't have to pay for it at all. So just remember that. But anyway, I did pass it. It was the only reason I did pass it was because it was during the pandemic, so we couldn't actually go to school, so they made the AP test way shorter than it normally is, and it was just like one question. It was one essay question, and I got a 4, which, if you know how that works, you can get a 0 to 5, and you have to get a 3 in order to get college credit, and I got a 4, which was pretty cool. And granted, had I been better at time management, at least just for that class, but I also took an honors English class and an AP class, which was really not a good idea, which I've always been good at English, so that wasn't really that bad, and he didn't really make it that hard, so that was like fine, but it was still kind of quite a bit of homework when we did get homework, plus the AP class, which we would have a quiz in every week. It was just really a lot. It was a lot. But I passed both of them, so I don't even really know what my point is. Take them. If you are interested in going to college at all, take AP and honors classes. But with that, I would really only recommend taking them if you're good at them, like the original class, or if you're just really smart. If you're not interested in going to college, don't take an AP class, because if you take it, you're doing all that work, and that work is there to prepare you for taking college classes. And then at the end of the year, you take the AP quiz for college credit, and if you're not going to college, you did all that for like basically nothing at all. So if you're not going to college, do not take an AP class, because it's really not worth it. But if you are, then it really is, because it's literally, because taking my AP class, it taught me how to write essays better, which helped me in my AP English class, because I knew how to structure an essay like that, you know, which normally I wouldn't know how to. So it really did help, and it's gonna help for like my whole high school experience. If you are going to college, take AP classes. If you are 100% positive that you are not going to college, there's no way you're ever going to college, then don't take an honors or AP class. Just, you know, get through it and get out, you know. Next, we're going to talk about teachers. If you're starting high school, you have to understand that you have to be nice to your teachers, because at some point you are going to do bad on a test. More than likely, you're going to just bomb a test, and it's going to be really bad. And you're going to want to know if you can, or even like at the end of the year, if your grade is like an 89.75, you could get that bumped up by doing extra credit or retaking a test or anything. And if a teacher doesn't like you, they're not going to let you do it. They're not going to go out of their way to find any extra work for you to do, or they're not going to take time out of their day to watch you retake a test that you've already taken and just chose not to retake. And even then, they might not even let you retake the test. At some point, that probably will happen to you, and you'll want your grade bumped, or you'll want to retake a test, and they're not going to want to let you do it, especially if they're not required to. So, and if you've been like a problem for them every day, they're not going to let you do it. But if you've been nice to them, or respected them, or like even made friends with them, they're going to want to help you more. And they're going to want to like find things for you to do to help your grade. Okay, here's a big one. Okay, your mental health. Counselors does not equal therapist. Okay, it doesn't. If you look up our school counselors, therapists, they say like, although school counselors do not provide long-term mental health therapy in schools, they provide a school counseling program designed to meet the developmental needs of all students, which basically means that they are not going to help you with your mental health issues. Like, they might, but they're not really licensed to do that. They're not really, like, trained to do that. Like school counselors are really great. They're helpful. They help you with other things, but not with your mental health. They can adjust classes for you and, like, stuff like that to help with how well you handle school, which can help with your mental health, but they do not directly help you with your mental health. They are not therapists. What they do is help you with your classes and help you find ways to better handle how well you do in your classes and how well you do in school. It's like they handle your schedules and what teachers you have and don't have, what classes you take, and what classes they think you are okay to take. That's what they help you with. They are legally required to keep your secrets, but you can tell them you're, like, sad, and you can tell them, like, your biggest secrets, but that doesn't mean they're gonna help you, and that doesn't mean they are trained to help you with that. They're trained to help you with your schedule and help you make sure that school is as good as it can be for you, but they're not trained to, like, take one of your mental health problems and help you fix it like a therapist did. It's me again. However, even though they are not trained to help you develop ways to fix your mental health issues, if you're not safe at home, then you can tell them, and you should. If that's all you can get to and you can't actually get a therapist, it's a good substitute almost, but it's not ideal because they're not really specifically trained to help you with that. And a lot of schools, if you have decent funding, they'll have an on-site therapist, maybe not every day, but, like, at least once a week or something, that you can see if you can get into, or they can even probably help you get a real therapist, and they probably won't be opposed to the idea. So just remember that, okay? Do not go into your counselor expecting them to fix your mental health issues, because they won't. And if they do, it won't probably be the best for anybody involved. Okay, next we're going to talk about social media. Here's the thing about it. It's nice to have fun on social media. That's fine until it isn't. Like, when you're in your beginning years of high school, that's fine enough. Like, you probably won't face too many consequences about it, unless, like, your teachers find it, your parents, whatever. But once you start applying for jobs or schools or colleges or basically any reason they'd want to look you up on the internet, they will find it. They will. Like, even if you private your account, someone else has probably screenshotted it if it was funny enough and reposted it or retweeted it or whatever, and they could probably easily find it. You want to have a platform that really shows who you actually are, or at least your professional version of yourself. Like, Snapchat is a great place to be, like, be funny, because I really don't think anyone's gonna actually look at your Snapchat, and even if they did, what are they gonna find, you know? Snapchat's a great place to just be kind of a little bit crazy, have some fun. But Instagram and Twitter and stuff like that, where they can find you and find what people have commented on your stuff and find what you've said about other things, that's not a good place to put your, like, silly thoughts. Also, do not send nudes if you're not 18. Also, if you're under the age of consent in your state. So just don't do it. Just wait until you're 18. I'm gonna quickly talk about relationships. I don't have anything bullet pointed, so this might not make any sense, but I want to throw it in here. Please don't go into high school or into a high school relationship thinking you guys are gonna last past graduation. But with that being said, do not be irresponsible. I have one friend that's pregnant, has had a baby, one friend that isn't really my friend, but who's also had a baby, another friend who's also not really my friend, who's also had a baby, one friend that got pregnant and lost her baby, and where do I even stop? Like, almost all of my friends have had a pregnancy scare. Almost all of them. And we're like 16, okay? Like, I mean, it's not me, but I mean, like, my friends are 16 and almost all of them have had a pregnancy scare or actually have gotten pregnant. So you have to be careful and get on that birth control and get on those condoms, because you don't need a pregnancy scare when you're 16. We're going to talk about peer pressure, which is, I kind of just talked about it, but not really. Football games are an easy, at least where I live, it's an easy place to be peer pressured, because it's dark out, there's a bunch of people there, you can leave and come whenever you want as long as you paid to get in and have like your little stamp. So you can come and go, there's no one's parents are there except for like teachers or like PTA or staff. Like, so you can just come and go as you want, and most of you have cars if you're an upperclassman, or you are an underclassman and you have a sister who has a car or whatever, you know? And it's easy to leave and come and your parents just think you're, oh, at the football game. And that's an easy place to be like, you wanna go, you wanna get out of here? Now, not to diss football games, but it's a really easy place for that to happen. Okay, now we're gonna talk about like supplies and things you probably need a little less serious note. So, I made the mistake of my freshman year. I was like so excited to be in high school. I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get that bag, you know, I'm gonna get my good grades, I'm gonna make all these friends, whatever. Anyway, I was just really excited, and I love back to school shopping. Love it. I look forward to it every year. But I made the mistake of going back to school shopping and just getting whatever I wanted. I was like, oh, I have all these classes, so I'm going to need all these notebooks, I'm going to need all these pens and pencils, I'm going to need this and that, this big backpack, whatever. And then, like, you get to school, and you realize that every teacher has a different way that they're going to do something. So my advice would be to not go back to school shopping till, like, a week or, like, the middle of the first week of school. Because my school always starts in the middle of a week for whatever reason. And like, if that's how your school is, I'd recommend going shopping on that weekend. But if your school starts on Monday, I'd go shopping like maybe Wednesday night or Thursday night, or maybe even after Friday, if you can make it that long. And just wait to see what every teacher wants, or even just ask. Basically what I would do is I would maybe buy like 2 notebooks, like maybe 3, and have like a pen or pencil, a pen and pencil, because some teachers prefer one or the other, and maybe a binder. But I wouldn't even buy a backpack, honestly. I mean, I would because my school allows it and whatever, and I just would prefer doing that. It's just easier. And if you do prefer a backpack, then you could just buy one, but I don't know if I would, because you don't know how much stuff you're actually gonna need, so you don't know how big your backpack is actually gonna have to be. So I'd maybe wait until you know how much stuff you're gonna need. But once you get more comfortable with that, I'm gonna tell you what you might need. I would get at least a little bit of paper for every class you know you're gonna write in. Like English and math and social studies. And some schools will let you take notes on the computer, but I find that to be just more stressful. But if you know you're gonna take notes on paper, get paper for classes you know for a fact, but not a notebook. Don't get a notebook yet, just some paper. But then once you get more comfortable, get an actual notebook. So a lot of schools have, like, they give you like an iPad or a Chromebook or like whatever type of electronic device. A lot of schools that are a little bit more funded have those, and they give them out to the kids or whatever. So if your school does that, I would recommend getting a backpack with the actual like thing in it for it, because it just, I don't know why, but it makes life easier. Even if your school doesn't do that, I would still recommend getting a backpack with one of those slots in it, because then you can put like your planner in there or your most used notebook, or a lot of teachers, like English teachers, will assign like books to read like at home, like this. Like physical books, so that's a good place to keep it so you don't like lose it or like ruin your other things in your backpack or even the book. It's just a nice place to like have a little, like my backpack has a slot for your computer and a slot for like something smaller, and I keep like a little book in here and then my computer in here. I would definitely make sure that there's at least one slot where you could either keep a book, like a small book, or a thin textbook, or a computer or iPad or whatever. I wrote that you might need a pretty big backpack. Not really true, but not necessarily true if you only have like a few classes a day or whatever. But you do need a pretty sturdy backpack, because it is kind of a pain to have to buy a new backpack every year, because backpacks are really kind of expensive, especially like good ones or like brand name ones. So that's kind of like a hassle. I mean, I wouldn't really recommend buying a new backpack every year unless yours is like absolutely wrecked, because it's just not really worth it. Some essentials I'm going to tell you about right now. Pads or tampons if you're a lady or someone who has a period. If you have your period, bring extras, because even if you're not on your period that day or whatever, someone else it probably is, and they might be like, bro, do you have a tampon? And you're like, yeah. Or you don't have one and you're like, oh my god, no. And they have to suffer and you have to suffer. So it's just better to have something than to not. Deodorant. Because I swear to god, the people who smell bad get bullied probably more than anybody else. Earbuds. If your school allows earbuds, those are like peak. Because a lot of teachers will be like, they'll give you like a packet and they'll be like, okay, it's work time. And then like you kind of just have to listen to either their music or like the random noises the class makes, and it's just good to have earbuds so you don't have to listen to that. But if your school doesn't allow it, then I'm sorry. Gum, if your school allows it, gum is really nice. Chapstick is nice. I mean, if you don't really get chapped lips, it's not really that big of a deal. And I cannot stress this enough, but you need a lot of pencils. Like, unless you do. Period. You need a lot of pencils, because the thing about it is, I usually get like a pack of those super fancy pencils. Here, let me see if I can find one. I always get a pack of these, and they either break or they run out of lead, and no one has lead this size because it's weird size lead for whatever reason. And you could just like, you know, and then if you only have that pack of pencils, if someone asks you if they can borrow a pencil, you either have to be like, no, or you have to give them one of your pencils, and you don't want to do that because those are your prized possession pencils. And either way, you should just get a bunch of like random pencils. Like I usually get these because they don't really break on me or anything, and they last pretty long, and their erasers are pretty big. So I mean, I always get those, and when someone asks if they can borrow a pencil, I'm like, okay, bet. Like, and then I give them one of these because I'm not emotionally attached to these. And then they move on with their life, and whether they give it back or not, it doesn't even matter, because I didn't really expect it back. You should never expect a pencil back. But I didn't expect it back anyway, and I won't be sad without it because I'll have plenty of pencils. But by the time it was like January, I was running so low on pencils. I had like maybe 2. Also, you will, if you're taking a math class, which I don't know why you wouldn't be, but if you are, you will need a calculator. I personally have a pretty bougie calculator. This is my calculator, my baby. It's pretty bougie. You can literally type words on it. Like, hold on. So, I mean, that's pretty bougie. However, you really don't need one that bougie. You just need like the basic calculator, because honestly, it's a fun party trick, but it was kind of expensive. But it will last me like till or through college, so I'm chilling. And they said I did one for like all of high school, and I was like, okay. Also, don't go and buy new school supplies every year. If you have school supplies that you can reuse, like a notebook you barely touched, or like pencils you didn't use, or like erasers you didn't use, don't go buy new ones. Just reuse them, or like even if they're kind of used, like reuse them, because why spend money on something that you didn't even finish in the first place? No, I'm gonna just end off on a few, like, I put them in like a miscellaneous category because I didn't really know exactly where to put them. If you want to do something that you know is going to make you happier as a person, and like you don't do it or whatever, or you think you're not gonna do it, or you're just like kind of on the edge, but you know it'll make you happier, just do it. Because if it's not hurting anyone, then why wouldn't you do it, you know? Because at the end of the day, high school is 4 years, and that's just if you graduate on time or whatever, and not early or late, whatever. But if you like, overall high school is gonna be like 4 years, and no one's gonna think about you after. So just send it. Full send or no send. Okay, do not get involved with drama. Like, especially intentionally. Don't intentionally put yourself in a dramatic situation that is causing everyone pain or like harm or just bad like negativity. Like, don't do that. It's so unnecessary. I mean, it's gonna happen, but just don't make any more than there is already. I'm gonna contradict myself just a little bit here, okay? Just a warning. Don't take classes that you genuinely don't want to do or don't think you can take just because all your friends are doing it. And like, same with that, like, don't not take a class just because no one of your other friends are. Like, don't let other people influence what classes you do and don't take, because it can be really harmful for you. Because if you're taking a class that you hate or you're bad at, and then you get a bad grade, or you like don't even pass it, then you have to retake that class. Or you don't have to, but then you don't get the credit for it, and you're gonna have to take more classes later to make up for the credits you didn't get for that class. A big thing, especially if you're in a big school, is go to orientation. Like, if they're having an orientation where you can like go in and meet your teachers and whatever, go. Because it's like really the best way to not get lost on your first day or any day after that, because you can find like the cafeteria, the gym, your teachers, your classes, like the office, whatever. If it's your first day, especially like a freshman year, or your first day of just being in a high school or a new school, whatever, go to the orientation. Because then you can go and like, I mean, at least from high school, they give you your schedule at orientation, and then you can like look at it and be like, oh, my class is in room 240 or whatever, and then you can go find that class, and you can even find them in order so you can figure out like a route, and then you can even go in and meet your teachers and make a good first impression. Well, I think that's all I have for you. Sorry, this video is probably really kind of long, and it's not really like what I usually do, but I just think it's needed to be said, because a lot of people sugarcoat high school and they're like, oh, if you just be yourself, you'll be fine. Maybe, but you also have to make sure you're doing things that aren't harmful to you and other people. And like, being yourself is fine, but that doesn't mean you're not gonna get bullied or made fun of or whatever. And like, that, you'll get over that probably, like by the time high school's over. Like, no one's gonna be like, oh, that kid was so weird, whatever. Like, it's gonna be over. But that doesn't mean you're not gonna face like bullying, no matter how good you are, because high school isn't good for really anybody unless you're rich and popular and attractive. But at the end of the day, they're gonna move on in their lives, and they're not gonna be like superior, because they're gonna find out that they look just like everyone else and they're just like everyone else. And if you're not those things, like, you're gonna move on, and people are gonna start to actually like you for who you are and not what you look like or what you represent.
I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh, if you're just gonna be yourself, then you'll be fine and everything will be great.
Like, if that's not true, you're probably gonna get bullied. I'm back. Now, you might not get bullied to the extent where like you're getting shoved into lockers and stuff, but people will always have something to say. Like, even if you're like perfect and you're nice and whatever, someone's always gonna have something to say. So I'm not gonna tell you, if you're gonna do this and that and this, you're not gonna get bullied. You might not get like shoved into lockers, but someone will always have something to say. So just, you have to prepare for that. But when it's over, no one's gonna think about you ever again, and even if they do, they're not gonna like hit you up 10 years later and be like, I remember when you did this stupid thing. Like, unless they're kind of not right in the head, no one's gonna do that because no one actually cares. Oh, another thing is that you have to go in there with the mindset that you need to get out in 4 years or however many years. Like, because if you're just like lollygagging and you're just messing around and you're like, oh, I'll just do my homework later or whatever, and pushing it all off, and you're not gonna get it done, and then you're gonna fail that class, and then you're gonna have to retake it, and then you're gonna be behind, and then you're not gonna get out in 4 years. You have to go in with the mindset that you need to get out of there in the 4 years. If you still have any questions or anything I missed, make sure to comment those below. Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to follow my socials. They'll be in my description box or at the end of this video. If you enjoyed your time here, make sure to subscribe and comment things you wish you knew before starting high school or any more questions you might have. And I will see you in my next video.